um, this hobby is very, very helpful for recovery, but I also like go to AA meetings weekly and I speak at rehabs and try to give. That's another reason why I love going on like the New Hampshire Chronicle, now your podcast, and the,
Hmm.
the Massachusetts Chronicle as well with Ted Reinstein. So I like to share my story and let people know there's a better life, because I was that guy at rock bottom. I stole,
Hmm.
cheated. I I was a liar. I'm not afraid to talk about this at all. I've seen a lot of deaths. There's been many people I've been, grew up with them. I considered them friends. We went to the same church, and even one of them was like a brother-in-law to me, and
Hmm.
he overdosed. So yeah, it's serious. I take my sobriety really serious today, but running does get in the way of sometimes my recovery too, which is tough because this is an
Does it?
addiction for me for sure, but it's a healthy one.
Hmm.
I want to go back to when you're a teenager. Like, I'm thinking 13 years old, how do you get your hands on a bunch of beers? Maybe your dad's fridge in the garage or buddies or something and the drugs. Like, how does that happen at such a young age?
Um, one like I guess the best answer would be you are who your friends are, and
Mm.
I that's what my grandmother used to tell me, and it was true because my parents never drank or did drugs or smoked or anything like that. Or they never, to my knowledge, my dad was a chewer and that was it. But
Mm.
um, we would take it from my friend's house, we'd go to his dad's and put, water in a vodka bottle and replace his vodka with water and take that to the fort that I had built at a young age and
Hmm.
drink it. And the pills came from down the skate park, hanging around. It all starts with the, drinking and smoking a little weed, and next thing you know, someone has some of this, and
Hmm.
like
And you got to, and you're like, yeah, sure, I'll try it because you want to fit in
It
at the
loosens
time.
you
yeah,
up, right? Like it lowers your inhibition, so you're just kind of like, all right, I'll do whatever, and yeah.
yeah, yeah. They, what was it? Probably Adderall and Vyvanse, 70s, all that stuff, and it started from there, and the opiates came next, and
Hmm.
I'm now. It'll be. I never thought I could go a day without anything, and I don't. I see a naturopath doctor. If people need stuff, that's fine, but I abuse anything. I'm an addict, so I don't, and an alcoholic, so I'm like very triggered by like pharmacies, or if like say I broke a leg running, I would have to do as much as I could non-narcotic, find a way,
Right.
you know. I just I can't control anything. Nothing, you know. It gets out of hand, as you can see with some of my hikes that I've done and my runs. That's there's never enough, you know.
Right.
I
At
was
what
going to,
point in your Oh, go ahead.
nope, you.
Me? Oh, I was gonna say, at what point in your journey did you realize you needed to make the change? Did you wind up like how did you get clean?
Um, so I was almost 22. I basically started. I started seeing my wife at. I was still using pills at the time, prescribed to me,
Hmm.
but I was double dosing them and buying them on the street to replace the ones I.
Oh.
And she didn't really know a whole lot about it. I was just smart enough to know that if I didn't clean up, it was. So it wasn't for her, hearsay. She did drop me off at rehab, but I just
Hmm.
knew I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, like waking up and snorting a line just to go through my day, for lack of
Hmm.
better terms, or
Yeah.
just using drugs to not be sick at work. I was in the concrete business. I have been for 16 years now, and rough crowd, and I remember using drugs just to get through my day for years, or at least 6, 7 years I did, and I it was just that was who I was. That was part of my life. There was no running routine. There was like I had coworkers that did run that inspired me down the road, but like I don't know how you guys are going to do that, running after a hard day's work, I'm
Hmm.
gonna go drink some beers and, get high. So that's kind of what that burnt me out. Yeah, and she brought me there. I checked myself into the Phoenix House at the time in Keene, New Hampshire. I went there for 30 days. I remember telling her I'm doing this for me, but
Hmm.
you know, stick around, that'd be great, but I don't blame you if you leave. I was very low point in my life,
You were
and
Hmm.
dating or were you married at the time?
we were dating, yeah. I was I was going on 22, and then I had a visitor, and it was my mom, and then she was with her. So, yeah, here we are.
Now she took you to rehab, but were you like, I need to get better, I need to go to rehab? Or was it like an intervention with her and just she says one day, I'm bringing you here and you got to clean up?
No, no, it was I broke the news to her that because so see, I quit drinking probably like 7 months before the whole
Hmm.
rehab, and I was saying I was sober, but
Mm.
here I'm taking all these pills and I was not sober. And so I knew that, that was next, but I couldn't do it on my own. I kept trying to cut myself off of these medications, and I just couldn't. You're an addict. You can't give an addict a bottle of prescriptions and say, quit these things one day at a time.
Hmm.
So I decided that I needed help, real help to get cleaned up. And just so happened that that program gave me a fresh start.
I think the Phoenix is that's part
The
like we've
rullet,
had another yes because
worry.
that's like a national
Yeah.
thing, right? So there are
Hmm.
chapters all over the country. So that's awesome that they were able to help you out as well.
Yeah, I think the phoenix, what does that mean? It's a bird that means rises up out of
Rise
something.
from the ashes, the
Yeah,
ashes, yeah.
yeah.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
you mentioned you went back and listened to a few episodes, and Doozer was one of them. I don't know if you went back and listened to the Rullet, and he was back in like April, just before the Boston Marathon. The episode number escapes me, 50 something, and then Maurice, the panda, who had
mm,
his story about drug addiction and drinking and jail and you name it, he did
mm,
it. And so we had them on, and but the guy from April, his name is Rory, and he calls himself the running mullet. He credits the Phoenix immensely for his
Hmm.
recovery,
They
and
helped him a great deal.
he's still very active with him. He does these Phoenix runs, group runs at the Boston Marathon. He just ran Chicago, and I'm sure he did some stuff with the Phoenix out there. So the Phoenix is it's pretty big. It's national, and it's
mm.
extremely amazing the help it's done for everyone, yourself included.
Wow. So yeah, I think I did. I listened to it and I fell asleep because I'm a podcaster till I fall asleep, and then I pick it up again the next night.
Well, I
Um,
have that
yeah,
kind of voice. I probably Erica and I probably do that to everybody. Everyone who listening,
I
we're
don't
probably
hold
like,
it against anybody. If I put you
I
to
think
sleep, then I'm just helping you
don't listen
do
while
some
driving.
no,
some recovery overnight.
no, y'all's podcast is probably one of the more laid back, relaxed ones with still useful information so it's not uptight to where it's so yeah, I would be proud because some of them
Thank
are.
you.
Thank you. Let's talk about the hobby, man. Eventually, you were looking after you're 22 years old, you just got out of rehab, you're looking for a new adrenaline rush. Was that like, the first thing you wanted to do, or was that further down the line a couple years later and you're like, I needed some type of adrenaline high here?
Mm. So I've always been kind of a loose cannon for adrenaline. I started pretty much right away, picked up skydiving. My friend
Oh,
Jake and I, he actually hikes now too, but I started going for my license for that, and I
I've always wanted to
for
do
a
that. My
while, but
brother did it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good hobby, but it doesn't relax, it doesn't do for me what this does.
hmm.
And some videographer actually hit the ground with a malfunction, and it kind of scared me away, and I stopped going, and it didn't take what I think it was a couple of years. It was a couple of dark years, like just boredom. I needed.
Hmm.
I turned into a workaholic after that, working as long weeks as I could, long days as I could, and that probably went on for 2 years. And then I found this, and I was able to get some relief from hiking and running. And I I remember the first few runs that I did, and yeah, it was just push yourself. I injured myself many times. Let's just say that, getting to where I
Oh,
am
so you were
now.
going a little bit too hard. You were just trying to just get out there and go, and so you
Yeah,
weren't taking care of your body like the
no,
way you should and just doing too much.
way too hard. Yeah,
Mm.
running in sevens right off, and
Oh,
I,
wow.
and just yeah, and I got tendonitis in my ankle, and that put me back out, and I was going
Hmm.
crazy. Now, if I get injured, even to this day, if I can't exercise or if I don't, let's say, I
Hmm.
can't even sleep more than 2 hours at night. I'm up pacing around, and so I have a kind of an unhealthy relationship with it. But like Eric said, it went from 22 years old, all that, and about 26 I started this stuff, and yeah, it kind of took over my life, let's say. I
Hmm.
have to force myself to take a day off now. I feel guilty if I don't. So
Yeah.
What's your day to day then? Like you go to work, you work in concrete. I don't know if you sell it or if you lay it, whatever you do. But when
Mhm.
you get out of work, like is that when you're going for a run, or are you doing this in the morning? Are you trying to find time after you see the kids and everything? How do you fit it in? Because you're like, if I don't do it, I'm up all night.
Yeah, so yeah, my days are sporadic. Concrete is my coach. I don't have pretty much there's no time in my schedule for a real coach to give me any sort of like training program. It
Hmm.
depends on like how early I get concrete that day or how big of a slab it is. Place and finish. We pour concrete and do form work. So that dictates my schedule, and I never know when I'm going to be home, pretty much. And so when
Mm.
I get home, we have to make it work. I have a
Yeah.
stairmaster now, so I train on that. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll take like my daughter, my kids outside, and it's in my garage, and I'll put a weighted vest on, and I'll do a workout on there while my wife's gone to Monadnock to do a run, and we just make it work. It works pretty good, but definitely don't see each other a whole lot some weeks, and it
Hmm.
takes a toll, I think, in a way, when we're both training for something bigger and we're putting out, 12 to 30 hours a week of training. It can take its toll on your relationship and probably the family if you can't do it all the time. You have to take little breaks and
Right. That adds up really fast. Like you have full-time job and then that amount of training, it just what time
Yeah.
is left? It's you're supposed to be sleeping at that time and then you gotta have family time and it's
Yeah.
the balance is hard.
I totally get
right.
it. And you're juggling. You're juggling with the
Hmm.
kids. It's like who's going to take the kids here and there. And when you have multiple kids, it's not like they're all doing the same sport at the same time or whatever in life they're doing. I'm going through the same thing right now, juggling and trying to find a time to get it in. That's why I wanted to know that question because your wife is very involved too. That's awesome.